Let me bring in our company, political reporter for the New York Times, Nick Confessori, and I almost made you a columnist there, and Huffington Post senior political reporter Amanda Terkel. Good to see both of you. All right, Nicholas, let me start with you. I mean, look, the lines are drawn. You have on one side a Governor Fallon who says, as we said, you know, this is a horrible idea. But let me play for you what the president said.
We got to make sure that we have an economy that's not just growing from the top down, because it doesn't really grow when it's just from the top down. We've got to have an economy where it grows from the middle class up and from the bottom up. And everybody has a chance. That's the idea of America. If you work hard, you can get ahead.
And you can see that actually was in Pennsylvania. But what's the political calculus here on the other side of this argument?
Right. Well, look, a higher minimum wage is basically an income transfer for business owners to their employees. There's not much you can do in an election year to tackle income inequality, which is a big issue for Democrats. You can say you're going to raise taxes on the wealthy, but that's not a great issue to run on in the midterm. Or you can raise the minimum wage, which is much more popular. But you know, the politics of it are that the Republicans have an advantage here. They're going to have an electorate that is older and more white and more male. This is a way to try to make that electorate look more like the presidential year. Younger people who are more likely to earn the minimum wage. People of color. And it's a way of changing who's going to come out to vote.
But one of the things we keep hearing, Amanda, is that the Republicans say they need to broaden their base. And Paul Waldman in the Washington Post frames this fight as taking on the feel of what he calls an economic culture war. So if they are serious about broadening their voter base, how does this work for them?
Right. I mean, I think in many ways it puts them on the defensive, because you have to say, look, I know the economy's tough. We talk about that all the time, and we want to get the economy going again. But we really right now don't want to make sure that you have more money in your pockets. The minimum wage has been shown in study after study that it will help stimulate the economy, because the people who are making the minimum wage, they don't really have enough money to invest. They're just trying to meet the basic necessities of life. And so they're going to make more money, and they're going to go out and spend it, and it will be good for the economy and good for businesses. So I think it's tough for Republicans on such a popular issue to say, look, we're against this. And, what Governor Fallon did is, I think, very risky, that we're not even going to let municipalities who want to do this. And
these economic debates obviously are fueling the midterms, but so is big money, and you did an analysis of this. Where does it stand right now, particularly in those critical U.S. Senate races where control of the Senate hangs in the balance?
What we're seeing is that in most of those key races, the Democratic candidates have raised more money, or they have a lot more money on hand. They have big bundles of cash in the bank. The problem is there is so much outside money in these races from Americans for Prosperity, from other groups. It's mostly against Democrats, and that has forced a lot of these candidates to spend a lot of money early. So we see higher burn rates, as we call it. We see Democratic candidates spending more, and the Republican candidates, including those who are working their way through primaries, can sort of sit on a little more cash and hold off from digging in for a bit later in the campaign. The key question here, right, is when can the Democrats keep money in their bank accounts for that last push, or are they going to have to spend heavily over the spring and summer to fend off these attacks from outside groups?
And all this is playing out after the Supreme Court ruling, which said if you've got the money, you can support more candidates.
That's right.
So, Amanda, is there any sense yet about whether or not that could be a game changer?
Well, I think that it could. I mean, I think that it could. We have yet to see what will happen. But obviously, after 2012 with Citizens United, I mean, the game, completely changed with all this money flowing into the system. But I wanted to also jump on that this minimum wage issue could be an important factor in the 2014 elections. 8 states could see ballot measures to raise the minimum wage. Now, whether or not that will turn out voters, it could. I mean, these ballot measures are very popular with the public, but that could hurt Republicans.
It's going to be interesting to follow, and I know you'll follow it with us. Amanda Terkel, Nicholas Confessori, thank you both.
Thank you, Chris.
Looking to